Hello and welcome to Slick Willy Flying. Today what we're going to do is the redfish critter. And the reason for this particular fly is I was talking with my kids and we just came back from Florida. And my kids were asking me, at the end of this nice vacation, what was the fly that was most effective? Which was the best fly? And I have to say that most definitely, this is the fly that got the most bites. Simple fly, awesome fly, and just got a ton of bites. So hope you're enjoying a cocktail with me. I'm having a nice rum and coke. And let's talk materials. So the tail of this fly looks like craft fur, but it's not. It's fin raccoon. And I have this fin raccoon in tan. I have it in a bunch of colors, but the tan was working really great, this combination. The body of the fly, the majority of the body of the fly is this sculpting flash fiber. But I tie it on there it's important that you tie this on nice and tight so that the water flows over this. I have my homemade eyes. I hope you can see my homemade eyes in there. For rubber legs, I'm using these silly legs, and they are pumpkin orange, fire tip they're called. For eyes, this is kind of interesting. So I have I've had this package forever. They're just extra small lead eyes is all they are, lead Dumbell eyes. But I don't really like the way the lead Dumbell eyes look. So I go to the dollar store and I buy these little cheap nail polish. Yellow, orange, whatever colors you like. And then what I do is I paint them up, put a little bit of Sally Hansen's Hard as Nails on them, and then I just set them aside. And maybe I make 3, 4, 10 of these. And then once I've got them set aside and they're hardened, then I go back and make my flies. You could just as easily buy pre-painted lead eyes. I get it. But I have these lead eyes and I might as well use them. So I take that step and you're going to see that step in this video. What else do we have? We have a wee guard. Oh, I have a little bit of reflective. It's called Polar Reflector Flash Chanielle, and I'm using brown, and I'm using like 3 turns. So I say we have another sip of our cocktail. We change the camera angle. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and let's tie a fly. Alright, so we're going to put a 34007 size 2 in the hook. And like I was saying, I'm going to use this Chartreusse 140 denier. I'm just going to make a little spot here to put the lead Dumbell eyes. Starting on far enough back to make a nice spot to make a head and a wee guard. Like that. Looks pretty centered. A few wraps in both directions. And then these that cinch it tight. My little figure 8s. Now I can just do a whip finish. And like I was saying, we're going to fast forward through this section. But it's a cool use of lead eyes. There's nothing wrong with them. I just personally like when we have a little color. Just set that to the side. Grab one that's already been drying. And now we can actually tie the fly. Okay, so we're going to go to the fin raccoon and tan that we spoke about. And I'm just going to take a clump off this patch. It's really impossible for me to say how much I take. And it really is very subjective. How much really depends on how much you want to put. Skip this step. I need to put my thread back on. start with the thread. So I'm using this Chartreusse Ultra again, and we're going to take it into the bend. And there's a reason I take it into the bend. I want the fin raccoon and the eyes that I'm going to use, I want them kind of pointing up a bit. So I definitely want to take this into the bend. Something like that. Now, back to my fin raccoon. So the length, you know, how you determine the length or even the thickness of this patch. I think I'm going to get a little more. It's a little thin. It's really, it just depends on how you want this fly to behave in the water, how much you want it to float or sink, or you know, all that kind of stuff, and that all comes back to, you know, trial and error, how much you use. So you can see in this first fly, I did it relatively sparse, but I'll still have some great action. And I really like using the fin raccoon instead of craft fur. I got turned on to this fin raccoon about a year ago, and I've really got to tell you, I've really liked this fin raccoon. It has a similar appearance to craft fur, but I don't know what it is about the structure of the fin raccoon, but it just doesn't seem to foul as much. So there's my length. If I had to guess, I would say it's about 2 hook shanks. And once I've got it on there pretty good, and I've cranked it pretty tight, I'm going to go ahead and trim off all of that tag. So I'm just going to spin that nice and tight. Come in here with a good scissor, and we're going to trim that off. And now we can clean this up carefully. Alright, so the next step that I would have in this fly would be to attach the eyes. But before I attach the eyes, I'm going to take a second, I'm going to take a Sharpie, and I'm going to come in here and just bar up the fin raccoon. And just like craft fur, this really does accept the Sharpie pretty nicely. And as I get farther away from the hook, I like my barring to get a little bit more spread out. Something like that. Nice. Alright, so now I'm going to attach my eyes. I have these homemade eyes, and I could put a link in the video of how I make my eyes. I'm going to go ahead and open up this hard mono that I use. Ooh, I just dropped one. Take a little pause. Okay, so I'm back. So yeah, so I found that. Now I'm going to go ahead and put these on. I'm going to do my side first. And I personally like to place my eyes a little bit further forward, I think, than the average person. And I also like to place them so they're kind of facing downwards in this scenario, because remember, this is the bottom of the hook. This is the bottom of the fly, I should say. So there's one. Now I want to do the opposite side. Getting them about as evenly placed as I can. That looks pretty good. Got them locked in. Just like that. That came out pretty good. And we can get those moved around a little bit more in a minute. Alright, so now it's some rubber legs. And you have a choice. You could put a little bit of the EP fibers and then rubber legs, or we can actually do that. It doesn't have to be rubber legs from the very first second. So I'm just going to clean up. I've got this, you know, strand of EP, And I'm just going to go ahead and place this on the hook shank, not covering the eyes. The first one has to be kind of short. A couple of loose wraps. Work it around a little bit. And then you just trim off this tag nice and close. Just like that. And I turn it over. And we repeat the process. Couple of loose wraps, making sure that I'm around. You can use a brush. Brush will go quicker, but I like to pack this in a little bit. I find that this packs it in a little bit better. So now I'm going to go ahead and just repeat the process. I'm going to most likely fast forward through this, but remember, the more that you pack this in, the better this fly will look. Okay, so now we're going to put in our rubber legs. And go back to the EP fibers. So now the last thing we're going to do is a little bit of this chenille. My thread forward. You know, this doesn't need a ton of wraps, but you do want to draw it back on every turn. Make life a lot easier if I use a hackle plier. And that's probably enough right there. So I can come under, capture that. Again, making sure that everything is going back as much as possible, including the chenille. We want everything going backwards. Now that I've captured that, Go ahead and trim that tag end off. Clean everything up. Now it's just a whip finish. Just to make sure we don't lose anything. Now I have this tool that singes off fibers that are going the wrong way, because I want to put my weed guard on. It's just a lot easier to put the weed guard on when some of these fibers are gone. And I also can heat this up a little and just touch that hard mono. Put a little bend in it. Get the eyes to sit a little further out. Just like that. Love it. So I need to get a piece of hard mono. So I'm just going to bring this up and I'm just going to get it tied in right in front of the hook. Just like that. A few wraps in front. I'll do a bunch of wraps behind. Trying not to capture my fibers. One more whip finish. Now I could cut off my thread. I'm going to get my tool going again. So I definitely have some fibers going the wrong way. Might be time for a new battery. Oh, now it's working. Alright. So now I'm going to get a little UV resin. Actually, I might trim a little first. I think these are a bit too long. Definitely got to trim my rubber legs. I'm not going to pull them tight. I'm just going to put them so that they're all together and straight. And I'm going to cut them basically pretty long right now. Can always trim those shorter. And then on the bottom, I do want to trim some of this off the bottom. Okay, so now I'm going to get my resin going. This fly has a little bit of flash, has weed guard, has going to have great action. This fly is a great fly. That South Florida Inshore. Hard to beat. Okay, so there it is, the redfish critter. Hope you enjoyed that. It's a great fly, caught a ton of fish. Hope you're enjoying a cocktail with me. I have a very special rum video probably coming as my next video. And I'm going to tell everyone which is my favorite rum, and we're going to get a little bit of rum information, so be on the lookout for that video. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to hit the like, subscribe. Good luck catching, and see you on the next video.